All right, if you have been deep in the world of health, weight loss, or muscle building, then chances are that you have heard some buzz around bioactive peptides. And you're probably wondering, how do they work? Do they actually work? What are they? Are they safe, right? And so today I'm going to dive into this topic here. What bioactive precision peptides are, how they work in the body, how they support fat loss and muscle growth, and if they are safer, more natural alternatives to GLP-1 injections, and what the research actually says about using them, especially because they're taken orally. Now, bioactive peptides. First off, what are we even talking about? Well, they're short chain amino acids. Now, if you eat meat, dairy, eggs, those are considered whole proteins, and they have all of the essential amino acids that we need. But these bioactive peptides that are short chain amino acids, and they can range anywhere from 2 to 20 amino acids long. And they are either naturally present in protein-rich foods, like I mentioned before, milk, eggs, fish, other things like that, or they can be created through enzymatic breakdown during digestion or fermentation. So enzymatic breakdown would mean that the enzymes go and they break down the amino acids into these smaller peptides. Here's the cool part about this. Unlike your average protein supplement, these peptides have very specific targeted effects on the body. Now, I'm not saying that whey protein or casein protein, if you use those supplements, or bone broth protein, anything like that, that it's necessarily bad for you to have, because we need a whole array of protein sources to get all of the amino acids that our body needs for so many different activities within the body and physiological processes. But these are very targeted within the body. So think of them as like tiny messengers that help to regulate key functions within the body, such as metabolism, inflammation, blood sugar, fat burning, muscle repair, and even our satiety. This is where the precision part comes in, because depending on the sequence of the amino acids, the peptides can be designed for or chosen for very specific outcomes. So let's talk a little bit about how they work in the body. Peptides interact with receptors on the surface of the cells, and it triggers this cascade of cellular responses. And so cells are at work all the time doing different things. And some of these peptides will then speed up metabolism, fat metabolism in particular. Others will stimulate muscle protein synthesis, and that's how we're going to build our muscle. And some will regulate those hunger signals that we get. Now, let me just give you a couple of real world examples. Collagen peptides. You probably heard about collagen, and that's something that is naturally produced in the body. Whole food vitamin C can help us to produce more collagen. Collagen, our scar tissue is made of it, and our soft tissues have collagen and different things. And so these collagen peptides, they are bioactive and they help support skin elasticity as well as our joint health. If you've been taking collagen protein, then you just want to consider how it's formulated. Now, another one is casein-derived peptides. This is from milk, and casein is slower digesting. And casein-derived peptides have been shown to promote relaxation and improve sleep. Casein is definitely a protein that is meant to be taken in the evening time before bed. Now, there are newer, more targeted peptides that have been emerging for fat loss and lean muscle support. And a couple of those have some big names that are kind of difficult to say, but Saccharomyces, others may pronounce it a little bit differently, Saccharomyces cerevisiae peptide hydrolysate. Okay. Now, with that, this is commonly known as baker's yeast or brewer's yeast. Okay, so you don't have to know the whole scientific name for that. But baker's yeast, brewer's yeast, it's a single-celled fungus that is used in baking, in brewing, and in scientific research. If it's something, I'm sure most of us have heard of baker's yeast or brewer's yeast. And so in that is a peptide, this peptide that when its proteins undergo enzymatic hydrolysis, so Hydrolysis is a breakdown, okay? And again, I mentioned the enzymes before. So enzymatic hydrolysis, it's that the enzymes are coming in and hydro means you have some water there and then there's breakdown with this that helps with breaking down the amino acids. They break it down into smaller chains of amino acids known as peptides, and this results in what we call peptide hydrolysis. Now, these yeast-derived peptides are bioactive, and that means that they can influence physiological processes within the body. They've gotten attention for various health benefits, including antioxidant properties, immunomodulating, that would mean, or immunomodulatory, meaning that it's helping with your immune system, and the metabolic effects. Now, with this, there's some potential mechanisms that support metabolism and energy. And direct studies of this Saccharomyces cerevisiae peptide hydrolysate, which again, baker's yeast, effects on human metabolism and weight loss. Right now, there are some studies that are out there, and there's more studies that are being done. And so, with the studies that have already been done, there's some proposed mechanisms based on kind of general peptide research that suggest some different benefits. One is appetite regulation. Certain peptides can influence your satiety hormones, potentially leading to reduced caloric intake. And so when we feel satisfied for longer after we eat, or satisfied quicker when we eat, then we would tend to not eat quite as much. It also can help with our lipid metabolism. So that's our fat metabolism. These bioactive peptides have been shown to potentially modulate enzymes that are involved in fat metabolism. And so then that can promote increased lipid oxidation. And that means just burning more fat. Can also help to improve our insulin sensitivity. Now, insulin sensitivity, this is how well the body listens to insulin. Insulin is a hormone that helps to move sugar from the blood, okay, sugar or glucose, whichever term you want to use, from the blood into the cells to be used for energy. So when we have good insulin sensitivity, then the body only needs a little bit of insulin to get the job done. It's like the cells are listening closely and saying, yes, I've got it. Send the sugar in. Like the door opens up easily for the sugar to go in. But when we have poor insulin sensitivity, also called insulin resistance, then our cells aren't listening very well. And so the body can send out more and more insulin, and it needs to send out more and more insulin to get the same results. And what happens then is that can lead to higher blood sugar and health problems over time. Because whenever we are secreting a lot of insulin, we're going to be hanging on to more body fat. Now, having good insulin sensitivity is a great thing. It means the body uses energy better and keeps your blood sugar in balance. Some peptides have been shown to enhance our insulin signaling pathways, which aids in better glucose utilization and our energy production. Now, another thing that peptides can do is antioxidant activity. By combating that oxidative stress, I know I've talked about this in other videos, but these peptides might support the mitochondrial function, which is crucial for efficient energy metabolism. We do need to make some considerations for safety because yeast-derived peptides are generally considered safe, and it's essential to approach any supplementation with caution, right? So one, people can have allergies. Individuals with yeast allergies should avoid these supplements. Dosage, optimal dosing for metabolic benefits hasn't been firmly established yet, but more and more research is being done on this. Interactions, well, you always want to consult with your healthcare provider before starting any new supplement, especially if you have underlying health conditions or if you're on any medications. Now, there's another peptide. Again, it has a nice little complicated name, myristyl pentapeptide 17. There's also some similar anabolic supporting synthetic peptides. And so this one is synthetic. It can help with muscle growth pathways. And this wouldn't be my favorite because it's synthetic. I really like the naturally derived ones. There's also another peptide that mimics adenopectin. That's a hormone that helps your body burn fat more efficiently. Adenopectin is a naturally occurring hormone that's produced by the fat cells, and it helps to regulate blood glucose levels, and it helps us to break down fatty acids. The problem is that adenopectin levels often decrease with age, obesity, or chronic inflammation, which can make it harder to burn fat efficiently. Adenopectin mimicking peptides They are designed to stimulate adenopectin's action, and that helps to increase our insulin sensitivity, enhance our fat oxidation, aka that fat burning. It helps to improve metabolic flexibility. So, metabolic flexibility is when your body can be good about switching between different fuel sources like carbohydrates and fats. And depending on what you need, having that flexibility can be good. So think of it like your body being a hybrid car. It can run on electricity, which would be more fat, or it can run on gas, which would be more carbs. And an electric car will smoothly switch between the two without breaking down or getting sluggish. When we improve our metabolic flexibility, then the body can burn carbs for quick energy when you eat or when you work out hard. It can help to burn fat when you're resting, sleeping, or between meals. It can keep blood sugar steady, help us avoid energy crashes and cravings. It can support better weight management and hormone balance. People with poor metabolic flexibility often rely too much on one fuel source, and it's usually going to be carbohydrates because those will be broken down into simpler forms like sugar. And some carbohydrates are simple sugar, and then others are more complex carbohydrates. If our body is relying on carbohydrates for its energy, then we can end up with more blood sugar swings, cravings, fatigue, weight gain, insulin resistance over time. And so, improving our metabolic flexibility means teaching the body to be smarter, more adaptable, and energy burning. And that's a really good thing for our energy and metabolism, especially for our long-term health, and which can help us to reduce inflammation since adenopectin is also anti-inflammatory. When the body is more responsive to insulin and better at breaking it down, it becomes easier to lose stubborn fat, especially the visceral fat. That's the fat that's in our organs that makes our organs not function as well. It can improve energy production and help us to avoid those blood sugar crashes and cravings. Now, these peptides don't magically make you lose fat, but they support the hormonal environment that makes fat loss more efficient and sustainable when it's paired with healthy habits. So, the bottom line, anabolic peptides help turn on your body's muscle building machinery. Adenopectin mimicking peptides can help turn up your fat burning engine. Now, together, they support body recomposition. That means losing fat and building muscle. It improves your metabolic health, and there's better long term outcomes for energy, strength, and hormone balance. When these are taken correctly, the peptides can help support metabolism, improve our insulin sensitivity, boost lean body mass, enhance recovery, and reduce that visceral fat. So you may be asking yourself, how are these different from glucagon-like peptide 1, which are the GLP-1 injections? And yes, I realize that this says peptide in it, but it works a little bit differently. So these injections, you might know them as like Ozempic or Wegovy, semaglutide, something like that. They are synthetic versions of GLP-1. And GLP-1 is a gut hormone, and it affects blood sugar regulation, appetite, and feelings of fullness. Essentially, they mimic what GLP-1 naturally does in the body to help support weight loss and better blood sugar control, especially in individuals with type 2 diabetes or obesity. That's actually what they were first developed for, was for those who have type 2 diabetes. And then when they found that the type 2 diabetics that were on these medications lost weight, then the weight loss industry said, hey, this could be something that could maybe be used off label, and we could use it specifically for weight loss, even though someone might not be a diabetic. So these medications can lead to significant weight loss, but they do come with a few major considerations that we just really need to think about. And because there are some certain side effects, and there can be a really hefty price tag, and some growing concerns about muscle loss and the long-term sustainability of these. Now, the GLP-1 medications, just a few of the different effects. It can reduce appetite because it signals the brain that you're full, and so therefore it decreases our food intake. It can slow gastric emptying. So the food stays in your stomach longer, helping you to feel full for a longer period of time. Now, with the slower gastric emptying, there is an increased risk of bowel obstruction if the digestion slows too much. And so individuals on these really need to stay hydrated, need to make sure that they're eating fiber-rich foods. And definitely the hydration piece is something that's really important because a bowel obstruction can cause a whole mess of other problems for us. Now, GLP-1s also improve insulin response, and they help the body to release insulin after meals and suppress glucagon, which is a hormone that would otherwise raise the blood sugar. Now, here's an important note. Some individuals that take GLP-1 medications do receive some excellent support that includes nutrition counseling, lifestyle guidance, behavior modification strategies. And for those people, the outcomes are typically better than others. But unfortunately, it's really not the norm for everyone. In fact, research shows that only about 30% of individuals on GLP-1 medications are engaged in regular exercise. And that matters because without resistance training and adequate protein, the weight being lost isn't just fat. That means that you're losing muscle mass. A 2023 study found that nearly 40% of the weight lost with GLP-1 medications like semaglutide comes from lean body mass. That means people are losing critical muscle tissue, not just the fat. And when muscle goes, so does your metabolism, your strength, your energy, and your long-term ability to keep weight off. Plus, when someone stops taking the medication, if you don't have the foundational support balanced with nutrition, movement, muscle preservation strategies, then the weight often comes back. And sometimes it comes back as more fat and less muscle than even before. And there can be a lot of different dangers with that because we need to have that muscle mass to help us to prevent falling, which is a great risk of mortality in the elderly and major injuries and things. And so GLP-1s can be helpful tools for some, but they are not a magic solution and they shouldn't be used without also addressing the why behind weight gain and metabolic dysfunction in the first place. Okay? Now, here's where oral bioactive peptides might offer an edge. They are non-invasive. They're not injections. They're taken orally. They can be used alongside a healthy lifestyle. They have fewer side effects and they help build or preserve lean muscle while losing fat. And that's something that GLP-1s notoriously don't do unless you're lifting heavy and eating plenty of protein. What about the research to back this up? Well, there's more and more emerging research. And a 2021 review in the Nutrients Journal highlighted the effects of bioactive peptides on metabolic health, noting that their ability to modulate inflammation, lipid profiles, that's your cholesterol, and even appetite-related hormones. Another study in Frontiers in Nutrition from 2022 explored how peptides from whey and casein, like I mentioned before, those are milk proteins, how they improved body composition and fat metabolism in overweight individuals, especially when combined with resistance training. Do you notice a theme here about resistance training? That's going to be one of my upcoming topics. And a newer 2023 study in the Peptides Journal found that certain oral peptides, when taken regularly, helped improve lean mass retention during calorie restriction. Now, here's the catch. Peptides have to survive the digestive tract to be effective. That's why delivery methods matter. So you want to look for enteric-coated capsules, liposomal formulations, or peptides that are clinically tested for oral bioavailability. Now, you may be asking, are peptides safe? Are there any contraindications? Well, overall, most bioactive peptides, especially those derived from food sources like protein, are considered very safe for healthy individuals. But of course, if someone is pregnant, breastfeeding, or has a history of autoimmune disease, then check with your healthcare provider before jumping into something like this. People with kidney issues or certain metabolic disorders may need to avoid high protein or amino acid derived supplements. Again, check with your healthcare provider on that. And of course, quality matters. If you look for products with third-party testing, transparent sourcing, and clinical support behind the formulation, then you're on the right track. So here's a question. Are they worth trying? Well, Here's just a few questions that I would have for you. If you are over 40, if you are trying to lose fat and keep your muscle, if you're not interested in injections, if you're looking for a smarter, more sustainable way to support your body, well, then yes, bioactive peptides can absolutely be a powerful tool. But again, they're not magic. They won't fix a poor diet or replace strength training. But when you combine those with a balanced plan, then it can be a total game changer for you. How do you get started? That might be a question that's on your mind. Well, if you're curious about trying peptides, start with a peptide that's food derived and clinically studied. Make sure that you're also eating enough high quality protein, moving your body with purpose. Again, think strength training and supporting your gut health. Give it some time. Just like anything in wellness, consistency matters more than intensity. This is something that we need to be committed to. It's something that we need to work our way into. If we are overweight, we didn't gain that weight overnight. And so we can't expect to lose it overnight either. So, a few final thoughts on this. Your body is not fighting you. It might just be missing the support that it needs to function optimally. And peptides, well, they could be one of the missing puzzle pieces for you. If you're curious and you want to go deeper into how these work, how to choose the right ones, and how to stack them, then I would encourage you to rewatch this video, get those notes, ask the questions in the chat below, and let's get some conversation going on with this because there are some really good products that are available out there. You deserve the tools that are going to work with your body and not against it. Something that I recommend is checking out the peptides from Make Wellness. They offer plant-based bioactive precision peptides that are designed to support your health goals. And if you want to find out more information and products, I will put the link in the comments below and give you an opportunity to look at one that I would recommend, one that I know has done their due diligence to study these peptides and to provide the highest quality to you. So stay well and take care. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel and share this with someone that is asking the same questions, who's curious about this information, because knowledge is power.